Hello there, welcome to my channel, Mo Moon. My name is Mo. Welcome. Welcome to those of you who are return subscribers, and welcome to those of you who might be new. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to this space. I am drinking coffee with almond milk today, and I wanted to do this video to talk about the god Pan. Now, I have an altar behind me full of gods and goddesses, and each one has called me at a different time, and I know each one in different ways, and I also know them based on their energy and a little bit about what I learned from them from you know, the internet and stuff like that. So I have a statue of the god Pan, and I want to talk a little bit about Pan, just like I want to talk a little bit about all my gods and goddesses on separate videos, because I thought it would be cool to look into the information regarding each god and goddess and to document a little bit about each one as an act of devotion, as an act of love for my gods and goddesses. So this is Pan, and I will tell you a little bit about my experience with Pan after I give you some information. So here we go. Get a drink if you want. Like I said, I'm drinking coffee, and it's very good. All right. So one of the oldest of the Greek gods, so Pan is a Greek god, the god Pan, Lord of the Wild, God of the wild, shepherds and flocks. He's also the god of rustic music, but I consider Pan to be the god of music in general. As you see, he's holding a flute. But he is definitely known to be the god of rustic music, the god of wilderness, and the companion of nymphs. He is a fertility deity who loves beauty, nature, and lust. He is associated with nature, and the worship of Pan centers in nature. He was the patron god of Arcadia, and I did write down a little bit about Arcadia later, so I'll tell you a little bit more about Arcadia later, but he was the patron god of Arcadia. The bottom half of him is a goat, and the top half of him is a man. He has horns on his head and a beard. He is depicted as very shrewd with a wonderful sense of humor. So the word panic comes from the word Pan, the god Pan, because Pan is able to shout and shriek and make noises to throw the enemy off and to incite a state of panic. But I think it's important to note that the god Pan is not just the god of panic. He is also the god of comfort, as I experienced him in my own experiences. Because obviously if he's able to do one, he's able to do the other, right? In my way of thinking. So Pan has enormous strength. He is able to shapeshift. He is extremely fast. And one of the things that maybe you don't know about him is he comforts people in distress. And I think that if you do have Pan as one of your deities or as your deity, then you would know that about him, that he is able to comfort in distress. So in many of the myths about Pan, he's represented as a kind-hearted companion of the desolate, as well as people in grief who wander the countryside looking for meaning or purpose. Pan is a god who is good at merrymaking. Pan's origin stories go really far back into the ancient world, perhaps long before the emergence of the worship of Olympian deities like Zeus or Hermes. This makes good sense because the ancient world has always had a fascination with nature and the spirits that they believed resided in those wild places. Sorry, just looking at my notes. So, in ancient Greek religion and mythology, Pan is the son of the Greek god Hermes. Hermes is a trickster god in Greek mythology, from which stems Pan's playful and crafty traits. The general consensus is that Pan's mother was a nymph. And a little bit about Arcadia, where Pan was first worshipped. Arcadia is a mountainous area in central Greece that is known for being the home of many Greek nymphs, shepherds, and other creatures. So Pan has a knack for taking delight in everything. This positive attitude allowed him to bring joy to the Olympian gods. And Pan mostly liked to stay on the countryside. He didn't like to be on Mount Olympia. It is said that Pan's mother abandoned him and he was placed in the care of nymphs in the wild. Because Pan was not raised on Mount Olympus, he ended up not carrying himself in a regal manner like the other Greek gods. Because of this, he is quite charming. Pan's mother abandoned him because it is said that she was horrified by Pan's looks. Symbols of Pan include the flute, a popular instrument that shepherds in rural Greece would play while they were watching their sheep. Demeter, Persephone's mother, was helped by Pan because if you know the mythology about Hades and Persephone and Demeter, you know that Persephone ended up in the underworld because of Hades, and because she ate some pomegranate seeds in Hades' territory, she had to stay with Hades for the cold half of the year. And the reason why it's the cold half of the year and why everything dies is because Demeter was so distraught that she couldn't find her daughter. And every time her daughter Persephone goes down into the underworld to stay with Hades for that cold half of the year, the reason why it's cold and the reason why everything dies is because Demeter misses her daughter. So because Pan is the keeper of the wild and the countryside, and because Demeter was so upset that her daughter Persephone was not to be found, and so Demeter's grief was causing the destruction of the countryside and of the foliage and of the trees and of the flowers. So Pan decided that he would help Demeter find her daughter Persephone so that she could be happy again and bring back the beauty of nature. So Pan was able to help Demeter find her daughter Persephone, who was lost with Hades in the underworld. So those are the notes that I have about Pan. Now let me tell you a little bit about what happened before I bought this statue of Pan. So I had been off my medication. As you know, I have mental illness, or maybe you don't know that. Well, you know that now. So I have a mental illness. I have a couple mental illnesses actually, which are combined together to be called one thing. And I take medication for that, but from time to time, I don't take my medication. And I was outside in the summer. I think it was 2 summers ago or 3 summers ago now. And I was getting really anxious. I had walked quite a distance from our home, and I was getting very anxious, and I was starting to feel very upset, and I was starting to feel afraid, and I was starting to feel like I wanted to crawl into a hole and just not be seen. And yet I was on this walk in daylight in the summer, and there were cars driving down the street because I was on a busy street, and there were a lot of people out in the beautiful day. And I was starting to have a panic attack, and I was starting to cry, and I was starting to feel like I just wanted to disappear. And I learned that everybody has hard times. I learned that we all suffer. I learned that, not that I had not suffered before, but I learned that no matter how good you are, no matter how good you think your life is, you are not immune to suffering. And that is one of the main lessons that I took away from that panic attack. But once I decided that I was going to take my medication when I got home, I started to feel a sense of relief and a sense that I could make it home in one piece, and that I would be comforted once I took my medication and was in the comfort of my own home. Needless to say, I ended up sleeping for 2 days after that because my medication is a medication that really makes me want to sleep. So I did sleep for 2 days after that, but what I realized when I awoke was that I felt drawn to Pan for some reason. And I had been looking at information about Pan prior to feeling drawn to him. I guess I had been drawn to him for a little while before I actually felt like I wanted to buy this statue. But I purchased the statue, and then all of a sudden, I wasn't sure why I was purchasing it, but I knew that I liked the statue and I knew that I was drawn to the god Pan. And after I purchased the statue and it was going to be shipped to me, I realized that Pan is the one that perhaps incited the panic in me so that I would take my medication, but also was the one that comforted me once I had made the decision and once I had learned a lesson, a valuable lesson. And one of the lessons that I learned through suffering like that in broad daylight was that we all have to fight through our suffering. We all have to keep pushing. We all have to feel a sense of love for one another, knowing that we are all treading a difficult path and that we don't know what each other is going through for the most part, and that we need to be kind to each other, because no matter what things might look like on the outside, we are all struggling to make it through this life, and sometimes more or less, but it is a struggle, and we are all going to make it through somehow. And I think that's pretty much what Pan taught me. And for a while I had Pan separate from the rest of my gods and goddesses, and I had him just sitting on top of a shelf and just by himself there, because sometimes Pan can only teach you a lesson when you are alone with him, and really focusing on that lesson. And one of the things that I learned about Pan as well is that he's very quiet. He plays his music, but he doesn't talk much. And he is very charming. He is very vain as well, even though he was rejected by his mother. He is quite vain. I think he is the god of lust, right? So he has to be confident in himself, and he does like looking in the mirror. If you have a statue of Pan, you can always face Pan towards the mirror if he asks you to face him that way. But he is definitely a god of music, and as you know, as a god who comforts those who are in need, music is also one of those things that he uses to comfort people. When you want to listen to something to feel seen or heard or understood or happy or sad or good, you listen to music, and Pan is the original god of music. His father was a god of music as well, Hermes, and that's probably where he gets his talent. But that's a little bit about Pan. So I hope you found this interesting. I want to do a video for each one of my gods and goddesses where I look up information about them and tell you a little bit about them. That's a little bit about Pan. I hope you enjoyed this video, and from me and Pan, see you in the next video. Bye.